Guys, thanks for joining me, and I'm going to talk about my epic psychedelic experience on 5-MeoDMT. Okay, let's get into this. So I want to talk about what it is, how I did it, including where, and what happened, and my takeaway from the whole thing. So 5-MeoDMT, otherwise known as O-methylene biofrutin, I think that's the way I pronounce it, is a tryptamine. It's like the DMT, but on steroids. Because this is really what the secretions off of the Columbia River toad found in the South America, in places like the Amazon, that these tribes and these cultures have been doing for thousands of years. I don't know who came up with finding a frog and licking it and then tripping out and thinking it was like, wow, that's what you need to do to have these experiences. But somehow somebody figured out that licking these frogs or taking the secretions from these frogs will give you a powerful psychedelic experience. Now, people in these cultures were doing it so they could visit the afterlife, understand this life, this paradigm, and basically open the veil, pull apart the curtains, and go forward into other dimensions and realms. And that is exactly what happens when you do it. Now, people have different experiences, and that's based on what's inside of you. So a lot of trauma, a lot of heartache, a lot of pain, generally, and like as ayahuasca as an example, it will show up and it will come out. But what the difference is with this is that this is kind of a rocket ship to the moon, 5-MeoDMT. And ayahuasca is a very drawn out, longer process where you drink over a longer period of time, and you have a lot of physical, possibly, difficulties. As in my case, every time I drink ayahuasca, I have humongous amounts of vomiting. Not so much in the last experience, but a lot of it in general, which is just purging. You're releasing these bags that you're carrying around, shit you're carrying around, things that happen to you, these childhood traumas and stuff that you carried around for your whole life that actually affects everything you see and experience and everything you say and feel. In some way and somehow, it has something to do with who you are at this moment. So when you start doing some psychedelics, you get to pierce through and you get to the heart of those things and be able to go, whoa, now I understand, now I can deal with it, now I can fix it, now I can move up and move on and be that better person, a happier person, and feel and enjoy life on a whole different level. It's just that little shift. Sometimes that's all we need. So what it really is, like I said, is what I took was not the frog. I didn't lick a frog. It wasn't the extraction from a frog because, as I understand it, there's also other substances that come along with the secretions of a frog that, they say could, who knows how it affects you in general. But what they've done is they've taken the molecule from the 5-MeoDMT, from that secretion of the frog. They've taken and replicated that molecule synthetically. And the stuff that we had was that synthetic version done in a laboratory, very, very clean. But when you smoke it, it's super clean. There's basically no taste to it. And that's how you do it. You smoke it. That's the way we did it. So we had a synthetic version. And the synthetic version is actually way more potent. And I'll explain. The guy who introduced me to this was a very dear friend, a guy I just recently met over the last course of a few months. He's got about 600 acres of farmland. He has livestock on there, and he's got up on a hill in the back of his property, there's a forest, and in the forest he's built this cabin, and it's like a meditation cabin. It's a hangout. They have family barbecues and get-togethers and stuff, and drum circles and stuff like that. And he invited me to come along because he found this gentleman, this shaman. I'll call him a shaman because I consider him a shaman. He's a wisdom teacher, a keeper of knowledge, of plant knowledge, psychedelics. And so he's a medicine man. And the guy, beautiful soul, his name is Adam Tapp. And the link in the description I put below. You can find him, listen to his podcast. Incredible. He has done every psychedelic out there that you can possibly imagine. and he's done massive doses of them. He is like the guru of psychedelics of anybody that I've ever met. So he was the facilitator of this. So there we were in the forest by the cabin under a market tent. You know those market tents, you know, they sell vegetables and stuff at the, you know, farmer's market. Well, it was one of those tents, and underneath the tent was a king size, well, queen size, not a mattress, kind of a mattress, a big thick cushion with a blanket and a pillow. And all these chairs were around it like a campfire. And so there was about eight of us, I think, somewhere around there. And they were a combination of people who've done it and people who haven't done it. So it was a nice mixture of people. And so I was the second person to put my hand up to go. First person had some difficulty of putting the pieces back together, and so it was a little, ooh, wow, this stuff is really powerful, really potent. So I kind of got myself in that headspace for it. So what you do is you lay down. This is what we did. Being out, first off, being out in nature, anytime I've done psychedelics it's a must. It's a must, because out in nature, you have things like this: trees, grass, birds, bees, all of these things to connect to. This is the flora and fauna of life itself. It's vibrant, it's grounding. You know, every time I'm out in nature, I try and take my shoes off and walk around on the sand, on the dirt, through the rocks. Everything else like that is so important. It just grounds us, especially today with all these frequencies that are buzzing around. And also it's great just to grab a tree and hug it, which I did later on afterwards. But these are grounding elements that I find so important. First off is, you know, when you're in nature, you got clean air, and that's super important. But I was laying there under this tent, and what you do is you breathe. What we did is breathe in and out deeply to open up the chest, to relax yourself. And then on your last breath, you get up on your elbows and you exhale. And at that moment, they'll put this pipe in your mouth, and there's a torch at the other end, and then light it while you're inhaling it. And you see the smoke coming in, it vaporizes and comes in, and I filled my lungs up. And then you hold it, and then you go back on you let go, go lay down, put your head on the pillow, and then you slowly exhale it. This is what I did. Now, if you were to count, and I didn't do this, but from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, until I think I hit 7. I would have hit 7, and I was gone. I just went way down. It's like the floor dropped down and I was being pulled into this abyss. But it was a beautiful feeling, but it was also happening so fast. I was like a cat. My ego turned into cat mode, and I clung onto like a cat climbing onto a tree as you're trying to pull this cat out of a tree, and hanging on for dear life. My ego did not want to let go. And I was scratching and fighting. Now, this is what I found out afterwards, is that he gave us a dose which was about 10, 12 milligrams. Because this stuff is so potent, you don't do a lot. And at that threshold, it still gives you the option of having some sort of ability of direction of either going with this ride or fighting it. Because if you do bigger doses, you don't have a choice of fighting it. You're just gone. And that sometimes could be like force feeding kind of thing. So he did a little to give everybody this little bumper at the beginning, which was still a big dose, by the way. So there I was, you know, deciding to fight instead of letting go and completely surrendering. So I was hanging on, and I just got to the point that in my experience of doing ayahuasca before, that I've lost many battles. And it turns out not too good, because when you're fighting and you're not releasing, going with it, then you're eventually getting forced against your will, and you're not completely opening up, and your experience changes. It goes sometimes into a little bit of a hellhole, and I didn't want that to happen, especially when I'm like the campfire. I'm in the middle and everybody's around looking at me. I didn't want to sit there and start freaking out. Not that I saw anybody freak out. Nobody did. But so I finally just said, gotta surrender. Ken, just let go. And I just like totally let go and just breathe into it. And soon as I did that, whoom, I was like, wow, holy fuck. I was just like, my chest opened up and I just like free fell. Just the feeling of all of this stuff coming off of me, and just like all the shit that happens to us, all this trauma in our childhood and all the things that we were growing up and people did to us and all that, those are walls and fortresses that we build, and structures that, you know, like armor and all this plating and stuff that we gather and stick onto us to protect our vulnerability, our heart, you know, our wounds. We want to protect them. We don't want to get hurt anymore. And so we build these things around our hearts and around our being, and we don't let anything in. And this is our fears, and this is our childhood issues and our baggage and whatever you want to call it. It's just that this is the stuff we have to let go of in this lifetime. This is why I believe we're here, is to figure that out. Because you're not figuring this shit out. You're just doing the same feedback loop, and you're not going to hit that point of happiness in your life and freedom, because freedom is all here. Paradise is in between these 2 points. And so letting go was so, it just changed everything. And I fell into this, and it was like, this was all coming off until I was just feeling so free, so full, so incredibly blissed out. And these shapes and colors started disappearing, and I went into a void. It was like this, just this feeling, and it was just a feeling that I was going through. I had no more visuals. It just was all, I don't even know if it was dark. And I just hung out in that, and it was crazy. And then I think what happened is I started coming out of this feeling. And when I started just slowly coming out of this feeling, now the visuals started again. And it was like I could see the universe. I could see the fathomless depth of space and everything. And yet there was this kind of fabric. Not a fabric, but it was like it was like inside of something. It was like being inside of a machine. This is a whole different topic, but I'm going to just leave you with that. It was like I was in this big simulation, this big machine. And it was incredible. The feeling of love just, you know, you cannot explain this stuff. I've tried to explain past experiences of ayahuasca and stuff. It's just, and this doesn't do it any justice, but I'm trying my best. And so actually, you know what, while I'm at this, guys, if this resonates with you, and if anybody that you think would benefit by listening to this, that wants to try this, wants to expand their consciousness, wants to leave their baggage behind, wants to figure out their life, and this might be helpful, please share, because this is so important in our lives, is to let go. Just to let go of shit. And it's kind of like, you know, we carry all these bags. We're trying to fit through a door, but we can't get through the door because we're carrying these bags. You got to let them go and squeeze through that door. Part the veil, part the seas, open things up so we can get to the other side and see us, to go find ourselves. That's why the name of this channel nails it in that respect. Is we have to go find ourselves. So please share it, and please like it, give that button some love too, because I want to grow this and keep talking about this kind of stuff, these experiences of expanding consciousness. So when I was coming out of this, it was like when I opened my eyes, I was seeing the tent, the top of the tent from underneath. And so a market tent is like a square box, and then everything comes to the point. And I was looking at it from below, and I could see the peripheral of the forest around me, and I knew there was people there. And the square just started going chunk, 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 but fast. And it was all like kind of vibrating. Now, we're all vibration. Everything is vibration. And so this vibration started and then it started to slow down as I was uploading this dimension, this experience, this physicality of our existence here. And it was like I was rebooting, like as if you were like a computer that gets, I wasn't shut down though, but as you reboot, I was rebooting, and all this stuff started coming into my consciousness that I'm back in this physical plane. That was an incredible experience. That was like a highlight, because it was like being born again. Weird, but it was like all of these things. I saw the leaves, and I started looking at the trees on the peripheral, and they were just like, I was merged. I was disintegrated into it, and it was it, and it was me. And this is a polarity. All of a sudden, we end up going poof, and we see everything in the physical, and we forget about all this stuff about the non-physical reality of our universe here. And so we have this, duality and stuff, but this was total unity. Everything was one. I was one with everything. And so I laid there for a bit, and just first I tried to piece things back together, but then I just let it go. And I just breathed into that whole experience of being alive, being there. And then I looked, and I could see this face hovering over me, because this is what Adam does. He just has this beautiful smile on his face, and he's looking into your eyes. This angelic smile, this angelic face. And I just grabbed him and I hugged him, and I just like, God, buddy, I love you. Thank you so much for facilitating me to have this experience. And I was so incredibly happy and blessed to have that experience. And I just stayed there for a while. I couldn't get up. My body was trying to reconnect with my head, and then finally when I did, I kind of said a few things, and I just told everybody I loved them, and I got up and I hugged every single person, and then I just kind of sat down and then watched the rest of the people do it, and just gave space and love and as much energy as I possibly could into the whole experience. And through this experience, the people there, we have this kindredness now, this connection. But we all have this connection. We just think we have to have some sort of physical thing to get that, but there's not. When we can peel this away, these limitations that we set, these boundaries that we set, these obstacles and walls and structures that we put in between us and everything else, let me just put it that way, everything else, then this is when our world becomes small. This is when we become limited. So it's about dropping all of it, letting everything go, letting all the shit go in your life. And there's many ways to do it, but I will tell you that 5MeoDMT is the rocket ship to do it. It is by far deeper, faster, cleaner, quicker, everything than any of the other psychedelics that I've done, because within an hour afterwards, you're able to function and use heavy equipment and machinery. You can function, you can do your life, get back to whatever you do. So I totally recommend it. You need to do it in the right place. You need somebody who knows what they're doing. And you can go and find these people that do this and facilitate these things. If you get a chance to go somewhere and a retreat to do it, that's even better. But my takeaway from all of this, of doing this, is that in the core of everything, and I don't want to sound corny here, but there's an energy that makes everything happen. It is the ether. Whatever this field, this quantum field, or this fabric, this thing is divinely rooted in benevolence. It's love. It's a very limited word for what I'm trying to relate here. But we need to open up this. This is you gotta get a key, you know. For me, DMT, you know, 5-MeO is a key. So anyway, I just wanted to leave that with you, share that. Watch video number 2, because video number 2 doubled the dose. That's what happened. I got double the dose, and whoa, what? Anyway, I'll just let you guys watch it. So please share, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Peace. Love you. Talk soon. See you. Bye.